Russian explained this is how Putin chooses his soldiers. Exiled Russian oligarch Mikhail Khodorkovsky stated that it is possible for Putin to send a new wave of troops to Ukraine, claiming that Putin's decision will have heavy political consequences. Khodorkovsky said that Putin chose his soldiers especially from the Caucasus region and paid a large amount of money to their family's. Former oil tycoon Mikhail Khodorkovsky, who was considered the richest man in Russia until 2003, but was convicted of corruption and tax evasion for 9 years after falling out with Putin, and was released in 2013, is once again on the world agenda with his striking statements as the new military wave on the way. The exiled Russian oligarch claimed that the prison sentence against him was political, and harshly criticized the Putin administration, claimed that if Putin sent a new military wave to fight in Ukraine he could face a great political reaction. NATO claims that Russia has lost between 7,000 and 15,000 Russian soldiers in the war so far. Speaking to the Atlantic Council, Khodorkovsky said it is likely that Putin will send a new wave of troops to Ukraine. Putin selects its soldiers from these regions. When we think about the people living in the North Caucasus and small areas in particular, the value of human life is not high in Russia, said the Russian oligarch. Big cities ended the coin, stressing that Putin would face an extremely heavy political reaction if he sent a new wave of troops to Ukraine. Khodorkovsky said Putin can summon 1 million people, but then big cities end up in coffins. Representative Russian soldiers have been in the world press for days. Russia admitted on March 9 that it had sent young soldiers to Ukraine after weeks of denial. It has been widely covered in the world press since the days when Russian soldiers, most of whom were young and did not receive adequate training, lived within the borders of Ukraine, while the Russian soldiers who rebelled due to the lack of sufficient equipment and supplies did not obey the orders and surrendered. Harsh words began to be heard in Russia about the death of the young soldiers. Russian oligarch Mikhail Khodorkovsky in exile. NATO and USA expect a bigger attack. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said in a statement on the alleged withdrawal of Russian troops from Ukraine that Russian troops were repositioned and could launch a larger offensive in eastern Ukraine. US defense officials also agree with NATO on allegations that Russia is planning a bigger attack. All eyes are now on Russian President Putin. The coming days will determine whether Putin will continue his insistence on the Ukraine war and send more troops to the Ukrainian border. Thousands leave their home. On the other hand, thousands of people are leaving their homes in eastern Ukraine, where Russia has launched a new operation. Thousands of people in Ukraine's Luhansk and Donetsk regions left their homes and started heading west after Russia launched a new operation against the region. Eyewitnesses report seeing a traffic density exceeding 80 kilometers in conflict zone. Surij, the governor of the Luhansk region and Ukraine, which is targeted by Russia, said, "I call on everyone living here, evacuate the area while it's still safe. Take this opportunity while there are still buses and trains." Gadi also said that Russia does not always allow humanitarian corridors and does not comply with a ceasefire condition, stating that the Russian forces destroyed everything in their path while advancing towards the region. Jadi said that the Russian soldiers who reached the region were stopped by the resistance of the Ukrainian forces. Russia, which has withdrawn its troops from the north of Kiev, has recently announced